Welcome into Inside LAFC podcast presented by Ticketmaster. We are live on LAFC YouTube. We are live on LAFC Facebook. We are live on LAFC's X account as well. I am Max Bretos. There's Benny Feilhaber. We do apologize. We try to get the message out that we would not be at our normal time of 12:30 Pacific time. We will return to that time. Very good reason. I don't want to mention any names, but some people are on the road having a grand old time looking for some new work.
Hey,
how's it going, Benny?
Are you driving the bus that's going over me as well, or just on it?
Benny's becoming a TV star, ladies and gentlemen. It's real. Where are you these days?
I mean, I'm in Stanford, but I love what DeCoog is saying. Little time shift, you're not going to lose me that easily. I can appreciate that.
DeCoog, I can see the comments. He timed in at 12:31. He goes, "Hello, Eric. It looks like maybe they are going live later this time," and he came back. So we have an evening show. And look, we're dabbling a little bit, but we just want to be live every Monday as opposed to, if there's a conflict, and there's Benny's had a conflict this week. I've had a conflict a few weeks ago. So we're making it do. And of course, you can always watch the re-air. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, a question as we are recapping. It's actually nice. There's no midweek games, so we can recap the game against Portland. We can preview the game away at DC United. We can talk about all those things in between. So come one, come all, and we will talk about it here in great detail. And it wasn't a win, and LAFC dropping points at home in their last two home games after a very exciting development right after the World Cup. And I will give Marc Dos Santos and the team the benefit of the doubt when you look at the busy schedule. They have two stretches at the beginning of the season and after the World Cup where they weren't inundated with lots of games, and they have performed very well. The good news is there's not going to be too many log jams of a schedule coming up. There's a couple midweeks for the rest of the year. There's no more Champions Cup. There's no more Leagues Cup, although we welcome that all the time. Quarterfinals of Leagues Cup coming up tomorrow and Wednesday. LAFC, we're almost there. But it is clear sailing. So I think based on what we have seen from this team, it could be pretty good. But all in all, the final, let's get right into it. LAFC won, Portland won, and it ended the losing streak, but they weren't, it wasn't a situation where they got the victory. That said, I broadcast that game, and it was an exciting game. It was LAFC on the foot on the pedal. And we're going to talk about something here that's going to be a theme for this program as we talk into it with you guys. And it's falling behind in games, which has been poisonous for this LAFC team. They battled back. They established, they got a ton of shots. They got the goal. They had goal. James Pantemis looked like best 11 all time for Major League Soccer, but they weren't able to go in front despite all their efforts. But here we are, Benny, and we got to figure out how to not fall behind games, but more importantly, if LAFC do fall behind in games, which they will, how to get out of that bind.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that they haven't fallen behind very often this season, right? And that puts us right at the top of the standings still, and in still really good position to not only get into the playoff, get a home playoff game, but ultimately still compete against the Vancouvers. That's kind of starting to create a little bit of a gap there from 1 to 2. But again, LAFC has the quality, and they've shown that they have the capacity to turn these performances into streaks, like we saw at the beginning of the post-World Cup phase. So I don't have any doubts that this team is built for certain moments that aren't as easygoing as we kind of felt like after the World Cup. But they gotta find a way, like you said, to, in moments of adversity in the game, in a game that I think LAFC easily was the better team, if from the eye test, they got to find a way through adversity when they fall down 1-0 and go behind. How do they claw back into it in a little bit more cohesive way, right? Because yes, they created, I think, 34 shots, you said, I think 12 on target. The expected goals was above 2.0. And so ultimately, yes, they quote unquote did enough to get back into the game and tie it up and maybe even win it. But they still look somewhat uncomfortable in the moments that they are down a goal and trying to push forward. And I'll also say this, it didn't cost in this game at all, but in the first half, albeit few times, few and far between, Portland had some moments that they also countered LAFC, and we looked to be exposed, but they didn't do anything with it, thankfully. So I think those two aspects of it, down 1-0, yes, go build the attack and send some numbers in certain moments to score, but also we got to be conscious of don't give up the second one, because you know what happens if you go 2-0, much more difficult task to come back from. So some points to talk about, some things that LAFC need to kind of improve on, but it's definitely not one of those where I'm worried in the sense that, look, the world is, the sky is falling, right? LAFC is still a premium team in this league, and they just have to tinker with a couple of things, maybe get a few bodies back as well, and try and limit the amount of times that they go down.
Yes, these are first world problems for LAFC, because despite the fact that it feels like they're in a bit of a skid, which they are by their lofty standards, and only 1 point in 3 games, only 1 goal over these 3 games, which is another issue that they've got to find ways, and this plays into what you were saying about creating chances, getting higher percentage chances. That said, the XG in the Colorado game we'll talk about a little bit. I mean, you got to throw that one out with the bathwater, because it was a major rotation. Clearly, LAFC were running on fumes with the League's Cup demands, and that's not a built-in excuse. You just look at the minutes that Denny Bouanga and Mark Delgado and certainly Sung Heung-min were playing. They needed a break. Everyone else was getting breaks across the league. This is not normal to have this many games. And, in defense of LAFC, too, they're on game 22. And for a team that had CONCACAF Champions Cup duty, it's crazy, because all the other teams have played 20 games or 21 games. So why wouldn't the league give a team that made the semifinals, much like Nashville, who've played less games, a little break in the schedule, which LAFC haven't gotten? We've spoken with Mark Dos Santos and that, and they've tried to get that pushed through, and here they are. And the rest of their schedule now benefits from that, because it's going to be more agreeable. It's not going to be too demanding. But I think they would have preferred to have it one more game demanding and maybe cleared that Colorado game or a game in April or May to accommodate that. The fatigue is real. This is a really demanding stretch, but now LAFC has got to put their the money where the mouth is and get these results. But this is I saw a team that looked fresh. There's still some things they obviously have to work on. But when you look at good chances, Benny, the XG is supposed to tabulate those chances and tell you, yes, they are getting good chances. And the XG, certainly against Portland, and to a little lesser degree, but still the same against San Diego, was very good. But I mean, we have to address that, because if that comes, this season's going to be spectacular for LFC, because I relied, Benny, 1,000% on that defense. I mean, they gave up the goal to David da Costa, which just was like a miscommunication they got through. But other than that, this defense has been spectacular for pretty much the duration of the year. And they're healthy, and they have Hugo Lloris, Ryan Porteous, Aaron Long, Kosi Tafari. They'll get better with some fullbacks. They've had to really push Ryan Hollingshead and Yevgeny Cheberko here a lot, because they don't have any options. But by and large, while you're not getting the chances aren't coming out from the back as much as you'd like, defensively they are as steadfast as any team in the league.
Yeah, and Max, I'm looking through the standings right now, and the goal differential and goals plus, or goals for, goals against. And LAFC, it's what you said. Their bread and butter this year has been defensively. So they've played 22 games. They've given up 22 goals. So 1 goal a game. That's as low as you're usually going to find. Maybe there's, I think I'm looking through here. There's only Vancouver has less goals against in the Western Conference with 18. So again, you're right at the tippy top of that strength in the league. As one of the best defenses in the league. And I think Mark Dos Santos is a very good coach in making sure that is a big aspect of the team. And it doesn't just mean that you have 4 good defenders, right? 2 center backs and outside backs. It means that he's gotten the whole team to buy into the defensive work rate, whether it's, a Denny Bouanga, a Sonny, a David Martinez, a Jacob Schaffelberg, and so on and so forth. So it's from back to front, the ability for the team to work hard and defend. And I think that is the bread and butter. Now, with guys like a Denny Bouanga and a Sonny and a Schaffelberg and a Martinez and so forth, you would expect the goal scoring rate to be a little bit higher as well. And I'm looking at it, and again, it's high compared to other teams, 36, but there's other teams that are right in there, right? Vancouver, again, number one in that. We have San Jose with 39. We got Dallas with 38. We have Portland with 38. So again, there's other teams that I wouldn't think have the same quality as LAFC have in the attacking third and the attacking half, but they're getting around the same kind of production. So how can we just uptick that a little bit? And that usually comes in moments that we're losing, right? We go down 1-0. How can we turn a 1-0 loss into a 2-1 win, right? And that was exactly what almost happened against Portland. If we get that 1-1 goal a little bit earlier, you probably see the 2-1. But that's where the difficulty lies right now for this team.
This is Inside LAFC podcast presented by Ticketmaster, live on LAFC YouTube, LAFC Facebook, LAFC's X account. Benny Feilhaber and Max Bretos here with you. Let's get to some of the comments. Guitar Man, hey. That's right. Hey to you, Guitar Man. You were there right from the beginning. He also said we should have won. Juice323, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us, Sarah, Max, and Benny. Juice323, you are too kind. I look forward to seeing you again at the stadium. Glory, Tottenham Hotspur with a hello. Bonifer, hello, gentlemen. I left work early to watch this. Hope you're talking about the 5 o'clock Pacific and not the 12:30. Black and Gold should have won. Yes, I read that twice. Sorry. At least we aren't suffering like the 49ers are with, their owners. That was the big news story of the day. Last time we exited a tournament, we lost 4 straight, looking better this time around. Yeah, I agree with it. Zain Assad, good to see you as part of our career. My translator's not working. I have to fix it, but I appreciate you commenting here on the podcast. And the 34 shots were not good shots or chances. All right, we will talk about that. Their squad, LAFC's, is too thin to rotate effectively, so it's only natural that they're struggling to perform at their best. They do have them. Jeff Yam, thanks for joining us as well. I see you. Shout out to Raposo coming on and picking up the energy and creating chances. I thought he was good, and they scored a goal shortly after he did. Sadie would have made the second goal for us. Sir UB, you are on probation now with your Sadie comments.
I like it. I like his comments.
But let's get back to the 34 shots were not good ones. And let's talk about it. That is a club record, 34 shots, breaking the 2019. I want to thank Josh Gross for tweeting this. He's been fantastic. And this is where I get it directly. As I found out shortly thereafter, 2019, they had 31 shots. There were 12 shots on target, which is a lot. There were 11 shots blocked, which that one's frustrating because you want to get them through. And I wouldn't say that they weren't good shots. I mean, there was that one from Chouanier where he gets through. Pantemis, who did make the team of the week, did this split. It hits his leg and then it hits the inside of the bar. That was a great shot. There was a couple good shots. I think the one things that I was I want to see more out of are the set pieces. I think we've gotten really dry there with the corner kicks. We had 2 good free kick opportunities. Up close, neither one really threatened. We know heung-min, if he takes those, is very capable. You need to get more of them, but they got a ton of corner kicks as well. They're not looking as dangerous there. I think there was some good buildups. I saw the comment about kicking the ball. It should be an all-star game. The ball that Denny kicked out of the stadium, it went above the 32-52, and there's like a little sliver of open air, and it went through there, and I believe went down to Christmas Tree Lane. It was insane. But Denny was – I loved what I saw from Denny. He was relentless, and then he gets this incredible goal to tie it up. I think the San Diego game, I'd be a little more frustrated. This Portland game, I think the Timbers walked out like, wow, we dodged one. Pantemis really, to sound cliche, stood on his head. I thought there were at least 7 or 8 excellent chances. The Timmy Tillman one, he ends up hitting it right before he left the game. These are good chances. Now, can you finish better? 100%. And generally, when you see teams like this, when you get chances like it, and you got to see if they can progress in this direction, eventually the ball goes in the back of the net. So I thought they were good chances, and I loved how effective LAFC was, and they didn't put their head down at all. Benny, it has to be frustrating when you're firing shots and you're not going. You're like, oh, it's not our day again. But they found a way at least to get a point.
Yeah, and I'm looking through some of the shots. I mean, I will say I have watched far too many games Monday and yesterday And so some of the shots have gone in and out of my head, but I'm trying to recollect my memories again. But I do remember, obviously, the Tillman shot. Obviously, the Denny Bouanga goal was fantastic. But I fall somewhere in the middle of what you said, Max, in regard to like the high quality shots. And, Portland, obviously, I think Portland 100% leaves BMO feeling good about the point. And potentially that they dodged, the bullet of losing the game because Pantemis had a great game. But also I think there's that aspect of, I wouldn't say that the shots were not of high quality, but I think because LAFC is still a semi-uncomfortable team when they're down a goal, they get into situations where they take shots where they don't necessarily score a lot of goals, or they give the other team the ability to block shots or for goalies to make incredible saves because the shots aren't, cross to the back post, the game prior. I remember which one, I forget which one it was, that I think it was Raposo cross it to Denny Bouanga to tap it in the back post, right? You're not seeing those kinds of get down the end line, get a service into a guy overlapping and then a cross back and then it's a tap in, where we see a lot of these goals from LAFC when they're leading, right? But when they're down, it's either just outside the box shots, sometimes just inside the box. But again, the other team has like 8 to 10 players inside the box that can potentially block shots and whatnot. So, and it also allows the goalie to make some spectacular saves at times. I think that LAFC are still not fully comfortable when they go down a goal to get to the moments where instead of taking 33 shots that add up to 2.3 expected goals, give me 10 shots or 8 shots that add to 2.3 expected goals, which means each one of those are more high quality than the 30 combined, if that makes sense. And I think that's where we usually score goals. It's not when we get 33 shots. It's when we get 10, 12 shots, 6, 7 on target, and 3 or 4 of them are from inside the 6. And so I think that's where we have to try and get to, whether we're up a goal, whether we're down a goal, whether we're tied. That's where we see the best showcase of our abilities in terms of finishing.
Inside LAFC podcast, presented by Ticketmaster Live, LAFC YouTube Live, on LAFC Facebook, and also, once again, live on LAFC X/Twitter. So I want to get into this a little bit because I do agree with you. And it is frustrating. The early goal, I give the team credit for coming out of it. But when there's that early goal, knowing full well how good LAFC is, I think they're 15-0-2 when they score first. They haven't lost a game. When they score first, they are unbeatable. When they give up a goal, this is pretty troubling. They've had, and you include all the competitions, 4 points out of a possible 33. In MLS, when they've fallen behind, they have salvaged 2 points. So if they fall behind, they don't come back. So that is something that has to be resolved. And again, to your point earlier, it's positive to see that LAFC doesn't fall behind in games, but I would find it hard to believe that they didn't. To Coog, we had attacking volume. What we lacked was attacking precision. Is that personnel structure or just one of those nights? And I think hearing you, Benny, it might be definitely a combination, but the personnel as well, about kind of falling behind and getting maybe a little flustered and going for goal and go just pepper the goal instead of finding that extra pass. I think when they fell behind too, we know about LAFC's prowess of scoring outside the area. When you fall behind, Portland knows they're going to take that away. And I saw there was a couple moments where it was maybe Eddie Segura or Chouanier, and they're looking for a shot from outside because they know. And then there's just too many yellow shirts in front of you, and you can't get it through. How do they get that precision? What is required to get that extra pass to maybe, instead of taking a shot, maybe recycle the ball and go, okay, that's not going to get it done. Let's see if we can get something better. What is the best means of approaching that?
Yeah, so there's so many different possibilities. I can't tell you that one solution would 100% solve it, right? I think I've talked about coaching in this way, that coaching is a very imperfect science where not every problem has the same solution because there's different sets of players, there's different ideas. And I do think that with how LAFC are set up, right? You have a Denny Bouanga on the left side, Sonny down the middle, and usually an inverted winger on the right side as well. For me, I'm wondering if the possibility of you go down a goal, you slightly change the formation of this team to kind of allow there to be more service in the box from a left-footed player on the left, a right-footed player on the right. I think that's one of the reasons why when Raposo comes in, he provides some of that ability down the right side to get those crosses in. I'd almost think that, again, it's some, like I said, it's an imperfect science. Sometimes you got to throw something on the wall, try it, and see what happens. I would be really curious to see what this team would look like if you go down a goal, you go to a 3-5-2, where you put 3 center backs, you put 2 wing backs, a left-footed guy on the left, probably Schaffelberg, right-footed guy on the right, not sure who that is, if it's Hollingshead, if it's someone more attack-minded like a Raposo, and you put Denny Bouanga and Sonny as the 2 forwards in that moment. And now you make those 2 guys work closer to the goal as opposed to out wide, and you might lose an opportunity like Denny Bouanga scored against Portland because he got the ball out wide and he cut inside. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to see what happens. But I think that when you're down a goal, and LAFC is one of the top teams in this league, you're usually going to play a team that's going to bunker in, and it's really hard to jam it through the middle. It's very difficult. There's just too many bodies. So can you progress the ball, have overlapping runs, get the ball into a Schaffelberg down the line, a Raposo on the right, down the line, or a Hollingshead or whoever it is on the right, get services into the box for now Sonny, Denny Bouanga are crashing. There's also a third option maybe coming through with a center midfielder, whether that's Tillman, Mark Delgado, whoever that might be. Maybe that's a little bit more imposing for other teams as opposed to try and be so precise and going through the middle and jamming it through the middle, which is what I think we saw. But again, out of the 31st shots, we got that one beauty of a banger, right, that you called infamously with at the end of a lightning bolt. Wasn't that? I don't want to ruin it.
Living on the end of a lightning bolt.
So how much do I owe you for that? That's copywritten, isn't it?
I believe that actually came from a professional wrestler, Dusty Rhodes. So I'm kind of copywriting it off him. I heard it and I brought it into the vernacular.
Again, it's not a perfect idea. I would love to see that because I do think that those 2 guys close to the goal, if they get a chance, they're both burying it. And you allow other people to kind of allow, creation and running off the ball. I think it would be more difficult for other teams to deal with 2 forwards in that central area as well. So again, an idea. I'm not saying that it's going to.
I like it,
but something to try a little bit differently in those moments that we've had, difficulty in finding success.
Well, to that point too, Inside LAFC podcast presented by Ticketmaster, all on our LAFC social media accounts, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a question. We will get to it. There was moments where there was a turnover in a transition, and then there was not enough players in the box, and a wide player was looking for a cross and kind of had to circle back or wait for that support. I saw that in Colorado too when it was Boyd and Schaffelberg, and then in this game too, Schaffelberg was making some inroads, Raposo later. Is it a case of adding an extra body into that area? Inter Miami does that all the time, and they end up scoring a lot of goals. Would that take away from the LAFC defensive effort? Possibly. There are, as I like what you brought to it, there are ideas on how to get that, especially when if you're behind in a game, which is something, again, LAFC just don't do, but you would have to imagine it would happen here at some point, and it happened so early against Portland in a game that was really firing off. I mean, LAFC came out great. You're like, all right, this is a good tempo. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh. And now you're chasing the game. In the back of your mind as an LAFC fan goes, we can't tie this game. We got to win this game. We got to get back to it. And we'd see where things lie after that. Some comments here. Hear me now, believe me later. St. Louis is going to be a problem. And that's from Daku. And listen, LAFC are in 3rd place. No harm done. 3rd place in the West. But 1 point in 3 games. If they go to DC and it doesn't work out, and they come back against Salt Lake, and then they're not getting points, they will drop from 3rd to 6th in an instant. And now there's 3 teams 2 points behind them, including St. Louis, which is hard charging. LAFC played St. Louis. And that was a very tough opponent for them earlier this season. 06327, the midfield is the answer. This is an issue too, because Timothy Tillman left the game injured, adding to the list. So the starting midfield was Delgado, Chouanier, and Eddie Segura. I think Eddie's been great in that position. We're waiting on it. Actually, I'll give it to you now, a bit of a roster update, because some people asked. I want to talk about the midfield. So talking to Mark Dos Santos last week, he's hoping that David Martinez can come back. train this week. And again, this is a big week, training all week, and then travel to DC. It's a long trip, but you can get a full week of training. You can rest, you can regen, or whatever it is, as much as you can. Hoping David Martinez is up. If he doesn't come back DC United, I think you can expect him in a couple weeks' time. Igor Jesus is training, and they're still very cautious. And Mark was telling us probably early September, which is just around the corner. They said Sergi Palencia is ahead of schedule, probably September. Armin Dosib, the new player, not ready yet. Nothing definitive on him. And maybe that's a player. If David comes back, you have that extra playing. You have Schaffelberg. Your offense looks good. But I want to get back to this midfield, because that is where it's getting stretched. There's not much LAFC can do without replenishing the squad, because, I mean, they're one injury. Jude Terry came on and played pretty well, I thought. But you're one injury away or a suspension where Jude would have to start, and you're down to these three midfielders. I have no news on Timothy Tillman, but he came out of that game, and I imagined that would put the next game or two in peril, but we'll get more details on that. But, I mean, how do you resolve that? I mean, they've kind of put a Band-Aid on it. It's been okay. This midfield can get better. I think Igor Jesus will change it tremendously because of the type of profile player he is. And that will allow the guys who play at the 8 a little more freedom. But that's unfortunately an area of the field where they have been really stretched, and it appears that there may not be as many answers that you have in this incredible defense, or with the potential certainly in the attack, where we certainly imagine Sonny's going to start scoring, and now Denny's up to 11 goals, and you have David and Schaffelberg and a couple other guys that can fill a gap here or two.
Look, all those points are valid, and I don't think there's necessarily like, oh man, we're thin here, we're going to go buy someone or trade for someone. I think, you know, the part of the whole conversation that you just kind of, you know, brought up that I find interesting is Jude Terry, right? This is MLS. I'm sorry to say to our fans, this is MLS. It's not, you know, we're not dealing with Real Madrid and Barcelona where there's an injury and there's an instant replacement. And if there isn't, you go out and buy it. You need to have faith in the guys that haven't played much. And Jude Terry is a guy, I think I've mentioned in this podcast, I've coached him. I coached him at the U18s when I went in as an assistant coach. I got to know Jude pretty well. He has more than enough ability to fill in for Mark Delgado, for Eustachio that's not here anymore, for Tillman.
Yeah.
He has no experience yet, or very little experience, but this is what happens in MLS, right? It's next man up mentality, and you better hope that either you built the roster the right way in terms of depth, or you've built your academy and second team and progressed the players through the pipeline properly. But this is the type of moment that a guy like that in Jude Terry needs to showcase himself, right? If Tillman's out, and Jude Terry needs to potentially start, if somebody else, you know, either falters or they need a break or whatever, he needs to be able to provide that and play well. And look, I remember, I think it was last year, Max, or was it beginning of this year, where Jude Terry played against Portland. He started and he scored that banger of a goal. So again, he is not Mark Delgado. He's not experienced like Tillman and so on and so forth. But he definitely has the ability to grow into a spot, whether it's a starting spot or a spot starter here and there. I agree with you that he came in off the bench, and if I think he helped in create a little bit of more dynamism in that attacking third. Maybe it didn't directly lead to that goal, but I think LAFC grew with some of the movements and the passes that he made. So maybe a little bit more games, a little bit more experience, and more minutes could benefit him and the overall depth of this team.
Inside LAFC podcast presented by Ticketmaster with Max and Benny. Some comments. Legend has it that Denny's ball is still in the air. No, it came down. It came down. But Denny will hit it, and then he can hit the most precise ball, but sometimes he just bangs it. Just a few good chances out of 34 means they're not creating good chances. And look, we've talked about the creation. There's certainly work that needs to be done. How about this? Latif Blessing, I'm watching you, my brother. That's something he would say, right? That's Latif. We've had Fo, Diego Rossi, and Carlos Vela. That's definitely Latif on his Facebook account joining us on the pod. What up, Latif?
I didn't even see it. Where is it?
It's there.
Oh man, what minute?
5:16. He may not be there anymore. That was a while ago.
Okay.
Uh,
I see it.
Some people asking about Tillman's injury. I don't have any details yet. Hopefully it's minor. But he played on and he almost scored a goal after that. But I would imagine.
I was wondering what the injury was because it seemed like he was ready to come off and then he got back up and then the ball, of course, finds the one player that, wants to not touch the ball at that moment. And he had to rip a shot. It was an unbelievable save, but I was wondering if that's like a hamstring or a muscle injury, quad. Man, that shot couldn't have felt good.
No. Angelique, Sonny is the best. I'm feeling with a lot of training. I feel Sonny is going to have a nice stretch here heading into September. I like the two forwards idea. I think that's potential. We shall see. What's up? Great call on the Denny goal, Max. All I did was make some noise. I don't think it was my best call, but I will tell you this. That was a fun game to call because it was action. The crowd was into it. The Portland fans were there. That was a really special night out. And I'd say the same thing about San Diego. Every night at BMO Stadium is special. Obviously, LAFC have to be successful to maintain that. But even when times haven't gone as great as they've been the last week, the fans and the atmosphere has been fantastic. So many VIPs, etc. The Field Club 10 folks are coming out. So this is important work. If you come to the games and you help create that atmosphere, this is important work for the club. I know they appreciate it. So thank you for your support. The midfield is looking thin, exactly why we should never have let Eustachio get away. And I think back to when Eustachio was there, man, we were really excited. But I don't think the plan was ever to keep Stefan Eustachio. And unfortunately, in the business of soccer, you would have had to make him a DP, I believe. And you would have had to pay a substantial transfer fee. And generally, you don't do that for midfielders. I mean, in hindsight, maybe you take a flyer. I remember he was dealing with some injuries earlier in the year. And the injuries complicated things for Eustachio here. But it looked amazing. Maybe there's a chance for him to come back. I know he liked it here. But, that was back then. You said, Eustachio's here. He's going to go back to Porto. And then we're going to have Igor Jesus. The world's going to be good. But, this is sports. Things don't happen so linear and like you would like them to.
And just to add to that, Max, I think that was probably the thought process that, you don't have Igor Jesus for the first 6 months of the season. You get Eustachio on loan, and there's no way you're going to, keep him because you're not going to get a DP in that position. And more importantly, how are you going to fit everybody in when Igor Jesus comes back and you have Eustachio, Mark Delgado, Tillman? And so it seems like a simple decision, which then, makes it now retroactively sounds a little bit weirder because we don't have Igor Jesus back yet. But I think it was always the plan, like you stated, to have him for that first half of the season.
Benny, I think you should remind everyone, every podcast, that this is MLS and not Premier League.
There's a cap, people. Come on.
By the way, the Premier League's crazy because every team is good now, all 20 teams. I'm watching Hull City beat Manchester United. You're watching Ipswich win. You're watching Brentford blow the doors off of Tottenham. The Premier League, to me,
Are Ipswich even in the Prem?
They're in the Prem. They've got back in the Prem. They're one of the three promoted
they went
teams.
Up, down, up again?
They went up, down, and up again. Exactly what you just said. And I
don't know if you need to be talking about Hull being a great team. I thought that was –
They're not.
They do for Man United, but –
they have Lucas Harrington, formerly of the Colorado Rapids, now played some minutes. So there's a bunch of Premier League. There's 3 former MLS players on the field for Hull City. Matty Crooks, and then was it
Salt Lake?
Yeah, Matty Crooks, Lucas Harrington, and then there was a defender, McNair, who's a Northern Irishman who played at San Diego FC.
Okay.
I know some people are taking shots at the midfield. The midfield is good when it's healthy. They have options. They just have guys playing out of position. If you have a true number 6, then all of a sudden that allows everyone else to play. But some guys are not being able to play the position that they would like. And I would stand by Timmy Tillman as an 8. If you put him there, is the way he was coming on last year, he was one of the best at that position. He's had some injuries, and I think he's kind of hit a wall a bit with so many games. But that's that. I know they would love to.
Let me cut you off one thing, though. I know the fans are giving it to the midfield, and I agree with you that the midfield is solid when healthy. However, and this has always been a talking point, I think, on the show and with our fans, there is one specific type of midfielder that we have never had this season and for a little bit of time, and that's a creative midfielder. And again, when you're down 1-0 and the other team is packing the box, it's always nice having a guy that instead of like a Timothy Tillman does, takes a shot from the top of the box, maybe has a little bit more of slow it down, try and cut someone and slip someone else. We don't have that kind of guy. And so, yes, we have guys that are 8s, that are box to box, that run all over the place, that can hit a pass over long distance and over the top. But we don't have that, Ryan Cherky type that Man City can put in when nothing's working and they're down 1-0 and they come back and get 2 assists from him and they win 2-1. Again, because this is MLS and not the Premier League, Talk.
In your face. Inside LAFC podcast live on LAFC YouTube, Facebook, as well as LAFC X. Late start today. We'll go back to our regular time next week. So bear with us, but we appreciate everyone jumping on here on a regular basis with us. Dream12361. I was an LAFC fan since day one. So you're here for the long haul. You were there. You set the foundation. You got to keep going. Eustachio was much more than an offensive threat than Jesus will ever be, without question. Eustachio is more of that. But I think with Igor Jesus, you get the ball winning, you get the distribution, you get the physical element, which let's remember when Igor Jesus was playing, we were all like, who is this guy? And a lot of people were paying attention to him as well. I'm still thrilled that Latif was on here. Somebody who mentioned about to shout out to LAFC United. I think you mean the unified team. And I want to give them some props here before we preview DC United. LAFC unified team competed the undefeated season. They played after LAFC Portland. The unified team is a squad with athletes with learning disabilities, with some who do not, and they bring them together to create a team. And man, they are really competitive. They are just an inspiration. They've inspired me. They've inspired so many people. A lot of fans stayed behind. We streamed the game. I called the game. Sarah, our producer, got it up there, and we streamed it. We had a huge audience. And this LAFC team, unified team, went 8-0-1. I want to shout out to all the players. Turbo, Miguel Gonzalez had an incredible free kick. David Haley had one too. Manuel Zambrano, who is an all-star. Douglas Molina hit the penalty, had a great celebration. Zion Jung and Jaden Carbajal joined us on Black and Gold Insider. You can check that out here on LAFC YouTube. Penelope, Ashley, Coach Yato, Michael McKnight. Excellent. And Portland, Benny, brought their unified team. So they traveled. They got to play like they were professional athletes, staying in a hotel, taking the bus to the stadium, getting dressed in the locker room. It's just amazing stuff. And I'm really proud that we were at the club that prioritizes that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I want to know what the celebration was. You said he had a fantastic celebration after, what was it, the goal or the penalty kick? What was the celebration?
Celebrated like Marco Tardelli at the 82 World Cup, and then everyone on the sideline just jumped on top of him. It was very touching. The midfielder, by the way, that creative midfielder was Matty Bogusz. And Matty was he gave us
Matty
a little
Bogusz was creative. I wouldn't say a creative midfielder. He was almost like a creative. Oh, man, he did play mostly as that inside, but sometimes he played as a winger as well, if I'm not mistaken. He was kind of like he
combo hybrid.
What's that?
A combo hybrid.
He did have a hybrid a little bit because he had the ability to drive and take shots and dribble, but it wasn't the incisive passes so much, but he definitely had more of the knack for a pass than any of the 8s and 6s that I think currently are on the roster.
And if they wanted a more creative type midfielder, I think the presence of Igor Jesus would allow that. So there's still a couple weeks in the marketplace. We'll see. I know some people don't think LAFC are being aggressive. This is the most aggressive team year in, year out in MLS with their roster. They were aggressive. They haven't been as aggressive this summer, but, I mean, you can't do that every summer. And who knows if they don't have a flurry coming up. So we shall see. LAFC have always had their foot on the pedal with regarding bringing in players. This time last year, they kind of went after like a $25 million transfer fee for a guy named heung-min. So, hello. That's kind of a big deal. Yes, Igor Jesus is injured, but he's on the road to recovery. We hope, knock on wood. He did have a setback. We're hoping it can keep going. I'll never stop whining about Bogusz being gone. They had to sell him. They got a huge price tag for it.
Bogusz
And I want to talk
player though. I will say he's a hell of a player.
And I want to say that about Nate Ordaz. People say we shouldn't have sold Nate Ordaz, but DC United gave LAFC a great offer. Now he's a DC United player. And that is the next game for the Black and Gold next Saturday. So a full week of training. So LAFC hits the road. They've actually not been they've been okay on the road. They have 3 away wins. I mean, most of their business have been home. They've done pretty well in CONCACAF Champions Cup, going to Costa Rica, going to, where was it, Honduras, going to Cruz Azul to get a good result. So they're traveling to DC. Then the following Saturday, they're at Salt Lake. So 3 of the next 4 games are on the road. This game, you can get in nice and snugly and watch it at 4:30 Pacific time Saturday on Apple TV. We'll see Nate Ordaz.
We're going to have to play against Nate the Great.
You're going to have to play Nate the Great. He hasn't started a game for them yet. He's had 6 substitute appearances, doesn't have a goal, 1 assist. But I can assure you, maybe they start him because they know he's going to want to get a shot at his former team. That's always uplifting, right, Benny? When you play your ex-team, you're like, come on.
In Brazil, there's a saying for it. It's called a lei do ex, and it means the law of the X's, So
sounds better in Portuguese.
Yeah. If they throw him in there, he's the ex-LAFC player that's coming back to bite us. I hope not, but that's the law.
Sir, UB, my favorite account right now, really, because all the Sadie commentary. No price for Nathan could be worth what he meant for the Salvadorian community here. I would remind you that I believe DC United has the #1 Salvadorian community in the United States. If you want a good pupusa, you go to Washington, D.C. I'm telling you, man, there's Salvadorians. They run the place. So I'm telling you, Nate is going to settle in with the Salvadoran. He's going to put butts in seats there as well. So there's a huge Salvadoran community there in D.C. If you ever go, D.C. is a wonderful place to visit. L.A. better than the DMV all day. I didn't see him have a goal. Did I miss it? Did he maybe? You know what? He might have had a goal in league. No, they weren't in Leagues Cup.
I think he did have a goal in something because I remember him scoring as well.
Well, I'm getting erroneous information from.
Well, I can check. Here. You want me to check real quick?
I'm on it too. It says no goals for DC this season. That's the MLS website. But
well, I'm going to tell you right now.
All right, he is on that.
Yeah, I don't see a goal either.
Maybe it was called an own. I remember watching him put it in the back of the net. Maybe it was called an
assist. He got an assist against Houston. Maybe that's what we're thinking.
It was a friendly. It was thank you. You see, don't test me. Don't test me to
that wealth.
It was against Newton United. Okay, so DC United not playing well, but it still strikes me as a dangerous team. They were winless in their last 4. They lost 3-1 to Charlotte. Their last home game, they lost 3-0 to New England. This is a very rare matchup. We rarely play DC and rarely play them here, and certainly not out their place. But this is a big game for them. And, LAFC, you hope that some of these players can help bolster the team. Hopefully there's some good news for Timothy Tillman, because if LAFC shorthanded, DC United will be doing one of these. This is a tough match. They're not a bad team. They're not playing well, but they haven't been a bad team. Historically, they've been bad. But I think this is I don't think there's, at this point, until LAFC gets a good footing of health and they get a couple of guys, whether it's on the transfer market or from the injury list, I think all these games are still going to be challenging here for the next few weeks at least.
Yeah, they haven't been great. I'm looking through their last 6 games since the World Cup.
They had a little window there where they were getting some results, and then it kind of went away.
Well, they've gotten, I'm telling you, they got a draw, a win, a draw, and 2 losses. So at home, 1-1-1 since the World Cup. So anything can happen.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, I truly believe, and it certainly applies to Son Heung-min and the midfield and Denny Bouanga. Getting a week off and going through there is going to get them, I hope, playing the way we saw them when they came back from the World Cup. I think that is certainly possible. They still have a roster. They're still tough to crack. DC United don't score a lot of goals. As we said at the beginning of the program too, I don't think this is a game you fall behind in. I think LAFC's defense is too good. It's a question of getting a goal, but this is a team I think you'll be able to crack, unlike what we saw in Colorado or in more recent road games. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that the perfect storm is collecting for LAFC to get a very important away win to set the table moving forward. I think Real Salt Lake the following week would be a little trickier than the DC game.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. A full week of training is one of the biggest reasons why I think LAFC have a good chance in this game.
Bad teams turn up against LAFC. What's that all about? It's true, right? You see that black and gold jersey, you see the hype, you see all the fans, and then it's same with Inter Miami. All these, it doesn't apply to Inter Miami. For LAFC, it seems like it does.
No, don't start with excuses. I don't want to be that team.
Good stuff. So tune in next Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time here on Inside LAFC podcast presented by Ticketmaster. We'll call that a day. We'll be back next Monday at our regular time. Appreciate all the comments and questions. If you guys have any comments and we don't get them in now, which we are probably not, leave it on the YouTube page. I will find the answers for you. I try to do my best with that every week. Benny, have a great show, whatever you're doing, and enjoy yourself. And we'll see you next Monday.
Thanks, Max. See ya.
Let's go black and gold.